Why won't my CPU operate at its max potential even when my application, which utilizes CPU's resources, is lagging? Why does my CPU never max out even when my application, which eats up 40% of the CPU, but 30 to 40% of the CPU still stays idle, being laggy? Does that mean there's a way to force the CPU to run at 100%? CPUs are manufactured that way, and the only thing I can do is purchase new hardware. The limitation lies with the application, and the lag won't improve even with better CPU. Assuming that the application is perfect, what I'm asking is whether software run that way. Something else.
You're probably running single-threaded applications which can only max out a single CPU core. Since 100% of one core is less than 100% of the capacity of multi-core CPU, total CPU utilization doesn't reach 100%. You can confirm this by viewing the individual core utilization in Task Manager. Look for single cores that are approaching max utilization.
You haven't specified your OS. So the answer will be common like. Applications can be limited by various reasons. The bottleneck can be in CPU, low speed, single/low threaded apps, not capable of using all cores/threads, I/O, disk throughput, disk latency, network throughput, network latency. Memory, capacity, throughput, latency, insufficient cache, locality, NUMA, swapping. And there are more reasons, which aren't so common. So have a look at your system resources and try to analyze your system for other bottlenecks than just total CPU load.
In general, when people talk about their computer being slow, I mention dust. As a former computer tech with 15 years of professional experience, I found that simply blowing out dust can significantly improve performance. I'm not talking about a thin, almost imperceptible amount of dust, but rather large clumps or even mats that prevent normal airflow. I've seen heat sinks that had basically a filter over them that was dust, rather than an actual filter. This blocks a very significant amount of air from ever cooling the CPU. Removing dust like this will tend to quiet fans instantly and allow your components to survive longer. Heat had killed many a computer I was asked to fix. Going along with a heat issue idea, you might also try better thermal paste. The white CRP most processors come with is like the Yugo of thermal paste. I use Arctic Silver, but there's better stuff than that, even. Arctic Silver is about a porch, using the car rating scale, but there are Ferraris and supercar varieties out there. Processors tend to slow down when they are overheating. This is a physical thing as well as a self-preservation programmed into many CUS. I don't know if it'll still show 100% on the task manager or if it'll show 40%, like you see, but it can be a significant slowdown while the CPU tries to let the heat sink and fan catch up. Another thing that could be slowing your CPU down is the CU. If you are running graphic-intensive games or utilities, like CAD, your CU might be holding back your CPU. Getting a better video card might be something to look at. Also, using the wrong right card might be holding you back. Gaming cards aren't, usually, designed to work with CAD as well as workstation cards, and workstation cards, usually, won't game very well, either. Some do, but most don't. As at Yaroslav Kusera mentioned, it could be disk related. Hitting the HDs a lot can slow you way down. I normally run multiple drives. One dedicated to the OS and others for software, Windows page file, personal files, etc. Besides not having to worry so much about backing personal data up in case of OS failure, having multiple HDs spreads the workload considerably. Reading and writing to the same disk at the same time can seriously slow down the HD. Using SHDs can mitigate this, but not entirely. Photoshop and video editing software are known to hit HDs hard. Reading from one HD then outputting to a second HD is the way to go. This also helps the life of your HDs. I also go with active cooling on my HDs. I haven't killed a hard drive since I put a fan and heatsink on them plus 15 years ago. Google them, they are cheap insurance. Believe it or not, your SU might be slowing you down, too. If you don't have enough power, or your SU is old or cheap, overrated, Chinese POS, you can have performance issues. I've seen firsthand what odd OS issues a flaky SU can do. You are looking for voltage as well as amps, so make sure they all match the specs on the SU, if you go this route, and also make sure they meet or exceed your power needs. If your components total 500 watts and you're giving them even 475, that's bad. I recommend going over your requirements by about 20%, so as your SU gets older, and drops power, and your other components get older, and require more power, you aren't stuck buying a new SU so quickly. Including the other answers here, there are still more reasons for your computer to run slow. Except for the SU option, what I talked about were very commonly seen when I was a computer tech. Doing a benchmark and other tests are the only way you'll be able to figure things out. Swapping parts might not even solve the issue if it's a combo of multiple parts causing the slowdown. And, as far as I know, there's no way to force your computer to use 100% of the processor. The CPU and OS knows what they need to do and are really good at their jobs, usually. Smile, I don't think anyone has yet figured out a way to force feed a CPU to make it run at 100% when you think it should. At least not without feeding it extra junk to make the percentage look good. With you seeing 40% and not in a whole number division of 100%, like 25%, 33%, or 50%, I have a feeling it's not a single threading issue. It could be, but that's not where my mind goes. +1 to a twisty impersonator for bringing it up right away, though. Good luck trying to figure this one out. I've spent days trying to figure this kind of thing out, only to end up replacing most of the guts as a last resort.
It could be energy-saving settings in either BIOS or the operating system. Many modern PCs and motherboards have settings to allow the CPU to be more economical with electricity usage, especially true for laptops which want the battery to last. You can probably turn such a setting off, but make sure you know what you are doing, as next to the setting there are usually other stuff that can affect the functionality of the computer in other important ways.
If you want to stop channel, please continue the recording.